Well, hello. It is once again time to try something new. I was in a mood to, I noticed that this game was on sale, and I've had my eye on it for quite a while, and I wanted to go and give it a try. So, here we are with Path of, I'm not sure how to say it properly, Achra? If it's a CH, usually it's a K sound, but, maybe it's Path of Achra? Well, we'll call it Achra for now. Achra, maybe. Oh, maybe we'll just call it whatever I feel like in the moment. That could be fun. And if you notice I sound a little bit different, that's because another exciting development is that I'm trying out my streaming audio setup for recording now, so that they're more in sync, and so that I should, if all goes well, have to do less post-processing. It might mean things sound a little bit, maybe not quite as good, but for the average viewer, you probably won't notice. But what you would notice is if the streams sounded radically different from the recordings. Now, hopefully, I am planning to, when I generally record, I'm planning to transition, hopefully, to streaming everything. But, that's my plan for this weekend, is to have my first stream and see how that goes. And edit that into a recording, as well as keeping the raw stream archive for those who want it. But we haven't gotten to that yet, so I've got this set up in the meantime, and it'll hopefully be nice, ease the burden for me. And this is you'll see rather quickly, this is a more traditional roguelike as far as I can tell. I don't know too much other than that, other than it is described as kind of a broken build style of roguelike. It's also very focused on combat. And people had some really they had some reviews that made me really think, you know what, this is worth trying, especially because it's on sale right now. I think it may have had a 1.0 release. I'm not sure. I confuse what games are finally at 1.0 release. And to top everything off, I mentioned in my last video that what is going on here? I'm looking at the audio for my mic, and it's showing that the left channel is louder than the right. My mic is not a stereo mic. It's supposed to be right in the center, so not sure what's going on there. OBS being OBS, perhaps. Well, that's for future me to figure out. Nonetheless, to top everything off, I mentioned yesterday on the Hades video that I was pretty tired lately due to various life circumstances, and now, in addition to that, I'm also randomly dizzy and nauseous, but I know why. It's for a good reason. It's just an annoying side effect I'm going to probably be dealing with for a while. So I figured a game like this, where it is more turn-based, static, would probably suit me. So enough of that rambling. I mean, this channel is for me to share my gaming experiences. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what's going on that might be relevant to that. But let's start. So I don't know much about this game other than what I said. I haven't really done research on how to play it or how it even goes. I figured it would be interesting to try to do a run without any of that information, without going and wiki diving, so to speak, going through the Steam guides. So we'll give that a try. Let's see what this is always what happens when we want to start a run. Yep, We're bombarded with information right away. I do love this this font. Oh, I guess the advantage of doing the recordings is I stream in 1080p 60, but I record at 1440p, so a little bit of a difference, but so that text is just a little bit sharper than it would otherwise be. So what are we searching here? So I guess this is picking our class before we start. Oh, okay. This is interesting though. We've got... So is this our race is the first choice? And then it's our... class, and then it's the god we serve. Okay. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be slow going because I'm trying to figure out how the game works. This is my first time seeing this screen. So that's interesting. Oh. It actually says culture, class, religion. And it says, come on, it's explaining exactly what's going on here. It just wasn't clear to me if this was some other menu and we can randomize. Fun. So let's see what effects these have. Okay, so we've got some stats here. Life. Pretty self-explanatory. I assume that there isn't something like... It's not like as exploration-based as... I should also mention I have played other very roguelikes, like Crawl. I played ADOM. I played NetHack. I didn't play any of these I didn't get very far in any of them. Crawl is probably the one I've gotten the farthest in, but yeah. Okay, so life, speed, that's probably how fast our turns are. And strength, dex, and will. Wow, so there's really only 3. Strength, dex, and will? Is that willpower? Huh. Curious to see how that turns out. No armor? What is this? Oh, we have we do have other stats. They aren't just showing, aren't showing a summary here. So we have armor, encumbrance, weapon size, range, block, accuracy. How does that relate to dexterity? Sorry for the distraction. Doorbell. That's taken care of. So it's interesting that there's a speed separate from dex. You know, I think there's other games that do this. You kind of always think that, like, well, dexterity is usually related to your ability to, like, dodge or use like weapons like a bow or something that requires, like, you think of as like some amount of dexterity in order to wield, as opposed to something you just swing hard like a hammer, which would be like strength. So you think of dex and speed always as, like, aren't those kind of the same thing? But I don't know, a lot of games will separate those. Not necessarily saying that realism is important. I'm just, sometimes I get those confused. So we do have something called accuracy and then pierce. 50 and 50. They aren't a percentage, they're just a number. So we'll see if that is a mistake by the... I have played some games where they did not think very well about how the stats were represented. Like, what was the one I played recently? It was like a Vampire Survivors sort of game, but with a Diablo 1, Diablo 2 kind of theme to it. Something involving... I'm not even going to guess the game. And are we picking this, or this is just what we get? I think this is just what we get. And then we have prayers. 3 max charges. Oh, and it tells us when we gain those charges. Okay, so it's just healing. We get a new one every area. So there's some incentive to save up if we can. There's damage types now. Astral damage. So if I deal 100 astral damage and an enemy has armor, does that affect it? Or is it just flat damage regardless of their armor? And we've got charge when you... Oh, it charges. So there's like a combo. Recite, med... Oh, so when we heal, we get more charges of this. Interesting. And... another one which does more damage. Repeat per stack of grace, which we are not sure what that is. What is this? What is this thing down here? Okay, so that was now we can see, take a look at. This bothers me a little bit that we aren't seeing all of the stats here. Because like, look, it says like resist slash here. So it shows what is granted by picking this. We get a Tugar familiar. We get some buffs from praying. See, this is another thing I don't like. It says, on prayer, the Tugar gains 25% hit and heals 25% of its max life. How long does that last? It doesn't say. It really bothers me when games don't give precise numbers on abilities, but you gotta admit that there is kind of a limit to that. Like, I don't know. There's a balance to be struck. There are some things that it's like you don't want to put that. Like, there's too much information. Like, if you really looked at all the numbers, for example, that went into an ability in a MOBA like League of Legends or Dota, there's actually a lot of numbers that go into that, and more so than is represented in the description. But I always felt like the ability descriptions gave you a very thorough, precise amount of information, as much as you would want to understand when you're first learning the game, like what it does. But there's something to be said for having a learning curve, figuring it out as you go. So this guy gets more will and resists fire. So there are elemental resists, and I wonder if armor doesn't. If you're taking elemental damage, how that works, how armor relates to resists and elemental damage, we'll see when we start screwing around. Okay, and then we've got, so prayer, we don't cast spells, we pray. So if we change this, it's showing how our stats change. Slightly less life, slightly less speed, a lot more will. Presumably will is related to like prayer. Possibly elemental resistant, possibly like magic resists. I don't know. Elemental resist. Attune. Gives hit armor. I like how these have been written. You know, it reminds me of a game that I felt did a really good job of communicating that stuff is RoboQuest, which I actually do have a video of that. Maybe just one for now. Oh, so that is saying the name of what is... Oh, down here is just the names of what is equipped. What we start with in terms of equipment. So what I kind of like to do is try to theorize on, like, based on what we have, like what makes sense and how are they going to play. Try to play like that and learn from that, as opposed to just hitting random and just trying to play. I feel like if you come in with a kind of set of preconceived notions, it's easier to learn from that, because you can compare like the difference between what you expected and what you got. So yeah, we go here. It also determines stats, but it also determines equipment, and we also get additional effects. So there's really a lot of complexity added by each of these choices, which is really interesting. Possibly a little hard to keep track of. So for example, if we picked Naki and Warrior, doesn't that seem a little odd, because Naki gets +2 will and Warrior doesn't seem really built for will? But you never know, you can always have weird synergies that happen. Same with Humbaba. So, for example, let's try to make a kind of bog standard like warrior build. Obviously, we stack strength and dex as much as we can. And yeah, so what's probably going to happen, it's just my guess, is when we encounter enemies that can deal, like, you know, elemental damage to us, we're just going to kind of get screwed, because we went too far in the physical direction. But we'll just have to see how that actually works. Oh, here is a menu. You know, I actually launched this before starting the video. I was like, there's no options. Music and sounds, a guide. Oh, wow. They do explain things. Clearly a keyboard-oriented game. Autoplay tab, I do like that. Change target, must be an attack range. I'm one of those weirdos who has Alt and Control switched, so I'm gonna... It depends how the game handles key binding, but sometimes it actually doesn't take. But most cases it does. So we choose to cast our prayers. We use numpad to move. I am glad I have a numpad on this keyboard. I knew that was going to be a good idea. Although I suppose we could just use the letters. Honestly, some people prefer that approach. QWASD. Yeah, I suppose that might end up working better if we just use the letters. Cool. Let's take a look at the guide. If the game's gonna tell us, we might as well use this. Get to the exit. It's not necessary to kill enemies. You just want to get to the exit. But you do get glory for killing enemies. And there's levels and areas, and you get items. You can spend points. 1 point every time your glory rises. You can view your inventory and items. Attributes. Hopefully we get... Oh, and we can also get description of their mechanics. That is great. So we might even get more information. Speed is very important. How many times you act compared to enemies. Just like in Digimon World 3. the speed was actually like the most important stat. The amount of turns you take is always very... It's easy to underestimate if you don't really think about it, but when you get to take twice as many turns as the enemies, that matters, and that's the case in a lot of games. Like I was thinking of like Final Fantasy Tactics. Encumbrance and inflexibility impact speed. Why are they called that rather than just... Okay, I guess it's because it's telling us the source of impact on our speed. To build a strong character, select powers and cooldowns that combine. Prayers are only actives and then everything else is triggered by events. That is cool. Dealing damage, entrance on prayer, on shrug off. That's very cool. And we are not I'm not touching that. That's going to screw everything up. Oh, it does have gamepad support. Interesting. And all this stuff that we'll probably end up tweaking as we get more experienced. Okay. And finally, let's take a look at some of these powers. So is this... This is not based on our build. This is just, here's everything you can find. And you can even search. There's a lot of cool looking stuff. I really do like the sprite work in this game. That is really... There's something about it, this type of art, that it just really stands out to me when I'm just like scrolling through games on Steam, and that's actually what initially drew me to this game, to come check out like the description and the reviews. Just seeing all the sprite work. And here is all the equipment we can find. Based on the like names and the weapons that are being used here, I assume this is inspired by, you know, some culture or something like that, and that is something I'm not sure what exactly, but we can also see enemies, so we can see what killed us and why they killed us. We can also see how the game handles enemy stats, so we can see their stats. They do not have the same stats as humans, so they don't, as the player, so they don't have strength, will, and dexterity. They just have life, speed, range, the type of damage, the accuracy, the damage, chance to dodge, chance to block, and then armor. So are block and armor like two ways of preventing damage, or is armor damage reduction, or is armor both? That's something we'll have to see. Some games do it that way, like I think what is it called? Dominions. So you can block attacks, but you can also absorb them with your armor, and then you don't really have damage reduction is like applied after that and is separate. I can't remember. Oh, and they do show their resist, so we can see what the different types of damage that there are in this game. So we've got slash, blunt, pierce, poison, psychic, blood. Can some attacks deal multiple types of damage, or is it every damage source is one type? Some enemies are weak to psychic. Or wait, does minus mean they resist it, and green means they're weak to it? Ice Beetle resists ice and is weak to fire. Okay, so it is resist. So 75% means they resist by certain. Negative means they're susceptible to it. So it's kind of got a little Pokemon system going on. I wonder if it's... how some games work where every damage type also has additional effects. Like if you deal fire damage, there's a chance that they'll catch on fire and be, you know, burned. We'll have to see about that. Or if it's just like an attribute that is attached to every source of damage. Maybe we should actually play the game now. Check out our loadout here. Pretty armored, resistant to physical damage. We deal slash. Okay, yeah, so it's not a percentage. Accuracy. Who knows what that means? 180 accuracy. What does that mean? We can block, range 1. On attack, apply poise. And it gives us additional armor and blocking as we attack. And accuracy. And stepping removes some percentage of it. So we kind of want to just like stand our ground. Hold the door. We can attack with our shield. Does the automatically attack with the shield and the sword every turn? Curious about that. So we are somewhat encumbered and inflexible because of our armor. Let's look at our prayers before we go in. Blood rage. So we can bleed. Kills replenish our blood rage. So this is kind of a berserker type situation where we want to keep raging, killing, regaining charges. And blood rage gives us regen. Okay. Of course, the question is, how quickly does blood rage drain? Blood is a damage type. Very interesting. There's all sorts of stuff to learn, to finesse here. Because, like you see, this one gives us a charge of our prayer 1. And weapon size. I was wondering why weapons had sizes, and I guess it is because some abilities scale off of weapon size. So this is kind of a small AoE centered on us. It only recharges when we enter a new area, so we better be careful. And we do have a heal, but it applies bleed. And it's per area as well. A lot of games do that where the healing, they try to kind of put a ceiling on how much you can heal. Like a Synthetic 2, I noticed. With the abilities there, it also has that sort of situation. Although we can heal from our blood rage. It gives us some vamp. We apply bleed to ourselves, which means we are dealt 5 blood damage on step per attack. That's interesting. So in order to heal, we have to bleed. And then we can use prayer 1 to clear the blood damage, which probably drains by itself as well. Well, let's get this shit show on the road, shall we? Spent like 30 minutes talking, but that's the fun of picking up a new game. That's how I like to play a game. It was a worn-down chariot land, a land of glittering cities and horned phalanxes bleeding their glory across the rippling plains. This was the shaping of Achra. O king, changes witnessed by the changeless depth, my ash birth. I almost thought that said my ass birth. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. This I know, no period. In legend, the universe is set. The gaze of divinity yearns for one alone to fill it, to cast thy shadow in every corner. O king, to consume all horizons. Tablet of the Vizier Imp, fragment. This reminds me of Malazan. Another reference that nobody watching this is going to get. Your journey begins. Okay, they're tutorializing us a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. We can right-click to auto-move. And we get some glory right off the bat. So, this is also showing us what the different stats do. It's interesting that willpower increases the damage we deal, divided by inflexibility. So the more inflexibility we have, the less useful willpower is, and since we're a big bulky guy, not so useful. So that's how they kind of create this somewhat of a separation between tanky warrior and like wizard. It also gives a chance to recover from harmful effects. And we can have a number of summoned allies based on our willpower. So this guy can't have that many. It also grants bonuses to familiars. A vigor isn't really a stat. I guess it just gives us max HP and heals us and removes harmful effects. So that could be useful in a pinch if we're about to die. We level up, we take vigor. Been talking a while, I better take some. Dexterity increases dodge and block, including the chance to block. Oh, that's interesting. So does the block number... The block number isn't chance to block. It's maybe it's if we do block, here's how much damage it reduces. I'm not sure. Scales off equipped weapons, accuracy, plus 5% actually, plus 10% if two-handing. And dexterity gives us speed, so they are related. Then we've got strength. Of course, life. Of course, armor. I guess that we just have natural armor that isn't tied to our equipment. It does give us some types of resistance. It's interesting we don't really get resistances based on these other choices. Except willpower does give us a chance to remove harmful effects. Strength reduces our encumbrance, so to a point, it'll actually improve our speed. Up to dex plus starting. Will raise minimum speed. Ah, so there's a balancing act between dex and strength, potentially. Well, what if we go with the philosophy of dumping everything into a single stat and see how that works out? In a game like this, I'm suspecting that's not going to work out. You know, that kind of single-minded thinking, they don't tend to reward that in games like this. They tend to go like, hey, you know, you got to actually think about how you're spending your glory. We are pulsating. We have Blood Rage to begin with. Why do we already have Blood Rage? And who is this? Oh yes, it is our ally. We can see what's going on with them. 2k HP. Hopefully we don't have to micromanage these guys, because that is going to suck. I hope they just kind of act on their own. Because then you get situations where are extremely a pain in the ass, where the optimal way to play is to kind of just send your guys one by one. That gets really annoying. Really fast. We've got more armor than him. He does have a block. Look at that. Our chance of block is 90%. It's so high. Not so much for dodging. And then when we mouse over, we see a bunch of messages. Praise Humbaba, your glory rises. It is also kind enough to remind us what happens, what each of these mechanics does. We lose poise when we move. This has plus 10. What does that mean? We already can acquire powers. Okay, it was telling us that at the very beginning. Oh, great. So if we really wanted to see all that happened, we summon this guy. We get to start with some poise. And I guess somehow things are Tugar's getting buffs. And some blood rage. Let's look at powers. What makes... Wow. Acquire powers from 3 elements. What does that... Oh. Each of these lines is an element. So if we're a warrior, doesn't it make sense to do martial? And which of these do we pick? Wow, we can pick anything. That's pretty cool. This isn't... And eventually we can prestige. For example, if we spend a bunch of points in martial. Wow, that's a lot. This is a lot to process. You should expect with a game like this that it's gonna be slow going at the beginning, because you gotta see what your choices are and try to figure out what's gonna happen. This is an expensive one. Gives us an initial attack. Oh, and each point spent here gives us additional resistances. Death is an element. Ice, astral, psychic, life, and blood. I mean, usually, especially if we're new, we want to go with stuff that's going to give us survivability. Which this is going to. This also gives us more encumbrance. But that's okay, because we have strength. And also, it's less expensive. So this is armor-based, this is block. Dodge, hit, pierce, accuracy. And there's more than just that, of course. There's all this text to go through. We're gonna read through each ability in sequence before I take a single step. No, we're not gonna do that. Better remove the preview. That's extremely distracting. Not good, because we're not two-handing yet. This... Oh, this is interesting. Gives us more poise. And it says skill level, so I assume each of these we can pump multiple points into. I was planning to stand still quite a bit, so why don't we do that? Learn, -4 out of 10. What does that mean? What? That's a weird, weird ratio. Okay, so there's a limit to what we can invest in. Okay, let's look at some of these blood ones, because that also seems tied to our class. Because we can deal blood damage. That has summons, but that's not going to go well for us, right? Because our willpower is not very high. Well, it's literally as low as it could be. 1. This is an interesting one because it deals... We heal when we deal blood damage, and when we're dealt physical damage, we deal blood damage. If we're not being dealt physical damage, though, this build is just going to fall apart when we're up against anything not physical. So we should probably... We either go all in on that, or we try to make up for that weakness. Probably try to make up for that weakness is the better way to go. These are not looking so good. Wow. Attacking applies bleed to ourselves. We no longer take damage from any source triggered by bleed. What does that mean? I'm kind of curious what this does, especially that you no longer take damage from any source triggered by bleed. And we have 2 points left. Is it better to focus on what... We can't possibly... This isn't like... in Path of Exile, and this is something I found kind of silly, but it kind of makes sense. You have to basically, in order to progress in the game, you have to keep your resistances up to a certain amount. Like, you have to cap out your elemental resist, and there's like 3. There's like fire, cold, and lightning or something like that. But there's so many elemental resists here, like we couldn't possibly strengthen ourselves against every one, so which one do we pick? This is always the thing I run into. We don't know who we're up against, and can't it change as we go through the game? So is it worth pursuing elemental resists? Or maybe the gear that we pick up will affect that too. But anyway, we've got 2. We could become even more tanky than we already are. And when we shrug off, it deals damage. That seems useful. Let's go with that. Let's see how that works out for us. And we are moving now. So our blood rage staying. How big is this area? Oh, right click is auto. And we can see exactly what each enemy does. I really like that. No more having to like go through menus and sub-menus to look at an enemy and then all it says is like a vague high-level description of them. So you have to turn to the wiki, which has the information, and then you're like, well, if the information exists, why is the game trying to hide the information from me? Melted. So do we just... Can we like full clear a floor? We bleeded. Where's our prayers? Oh, they're right here. And that's why there's only 3, because we can't just have a massive ability bar. That's an interesting way of doing it. Everything is kind of triggered based on what happens. And this is the one that heals us. Oh, we start with 0 stacks. Also. And our blood rage went away for some reason. We're bleeded now. On step or attack. So can we hold still if I press S? And our bleed will go down. It just went away. Is there... Oh, also, like, how does the vision work? I can't move there. Oh, so black is just like it's a wall. Oh, I didn't want to go there. Wait, this is it? Are we being like penalized by moving around? Because I just kind of wanted to explore. What is this up here? This green bar. Is it saying like how much left over? Shoop. Okay. And then I think we press right click. Okay. More glory. Well, if this is still going to raise our minimum speed, why not? I want to try to get to a choke point. Oh, not exactly what I wanted to do. Oh, we're bleeding, so I better just wait, I guess. And everything lit up. Vanquished. Does that mean we've defeated every enemy on the floor? Okay. Does our familiar, like, leech glory from us, or does a familiar kill count as us killing it? I sure hope that's the case. He's just melting everybody. Okay. So then we can go here and figure out what we want to do with that. Currently we've got Spatha. This can be two-handed. I don't want to do that. Oh, are we... can we drop, wield, or sacrifice? So we can feed it. Are we encumbered just because this is in our inventory, or does that mean when we wield it? I wonder if there's a way. Our encumbrance is 24. And is this better than our Spatha, or is it like a side grade, or what? Why don't we just stick with Spatha and just do, like, sacrifice? What happened? Look at that, our encumbrance didn't change. So I guess we can just carry as much loot as we want around with us and not worry about carrying stuff like we would in a classical roguelike. It didn't say vanquished. No, it did. Alright. So right now we've just got, it's just some armor and some resistance to various damage sources, which we're also getting from... This increases blood resistance. Armor's equivalent. Comparison's a little annoying. On dealing damage to yourself, we deal blood damage. We're not really doing that. I know there's an ability that works that way. So we apply bleed to ourselves, but that's not damaging ourselves. So I don't think that's going to be super useful. Intaba gives some psychic resist. 70 armor versus 10 armor. We do have a lot of strength though to make up for that. And that is a nice chunk of elemental resist. Repulsion deals psychic damage to the attacker on being attacked. I kind of like this one. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and wear that. I guess we'll just hang on to this for now in case that ends up being really a big difference. This also seems to favor standing still. I think this will... What would happen if we were... No. I did not mean to do that, but I guess we went and did it. Oh well, I didn't mean to... I wanted to see what was going to happen, but... made it have more armor. Okay. So cool, you can still do stuff. 1 point doesn't buy us anything, so I guess this is the end of this first area. Ooh. You gaze upon the dune sea. There's a crumbling vine-wrapped altar. You see a decaying blue exoskeleton by glorious step. You know what this just reminded me of? A roguelike-ish game that I played that I really did not enjoy. It was really interesting, very promising, but man, I just felt like such a time sink. Felt like it did not value my time. And that was wow, the name escapes me. It fell out of my memory. Maybe that's for the best. It was a roguelike, but it was like, it had like a story in it, but it was also like permadeath based runs, but you could also play it in a mode where there wasn't permadeath. And it was kind of a mix of like post-apocalyptic and like magic. And you could be like a mutant. What was it called? Caves of Qud, that was it. Yeah. I know it has its fans, and nothing against you. If you enjoy that game, that's great. It's got some, I'm sure it's quite interesting, but yeah, I just could not get into it. It felt very tedious. I played it for like 18 hours too. But man, it took so long to travel everywhere, like across the world map, and while you're doing that, all this stuff is happening, and it took so long to level up, and then there's these kind of like moments in the game where, oh yeah, you basically just need this specific item in order to progress, and so you need to go like track it down, and then, oh, you can get a disease, and then you're just like, your character's just like permanently debuffed unless you spend all this time going to go get it cured, and man, that was it for me. So we get to stop talking about other games. We get to choose what happens next. Oh, I see. Pillars of Salt, Dune, Sea, or Mountain. And it's going to show us what we could get and what enemies we might encounter. Ah, so that also lets us hedge against our lack of certain kinds of damage. Poison and pierce. Pierce and blunt. And what do we want? That's an interesting one. It's blunt. I'm not sure if that matters too much. Deals entangle. This is going to give us some armor. It could be useful. Lightning resist. I kind of want to get some more resists going. Our starting gear is pretty bog standard. I think we'll go with this. It's all about that strength. See, I like this. It's a nice little choke point here. But their range is 5. Are they... So, if they can attack from range 5, are they smart enough to keep their distance and attack from afar, or are they gonna... Yes, they are. What happens to us? We're dealing repulsion. So, how do corners work? So we do need to close the distance here. Keep bleeding. I guess it auto removes the bleed from us when we vanquish. Wait, FPS 120. I guess that's okay. Okay, look at that. So we did Marshall, 2 Marshall, and 1... Oh, and that's a nice way of referring to... Oh, this is also reminding me of this really old roguelike. By a company that no longer exists. Dungeons of Dreadmore, that was it. Yeah. I think that, didn't that company, they started making a, this game called like Clockwork Empires. Yeah. What was that company? Gaslamp Games, that was it. Yeah, Gaslight Games now, because they gaslit us into thinking that they were going to finish their game. That's probably not the correct usage of that term. I think I'm just going to save points until we come across, like, a reason to use them. And now I'm getting to the point where I have to decide. So we've been doing this for about an hour. And this is like a trying out video, but I haven't even completed a run yet. So do I continue playing? I guess I won't. I guess I'll play for a little bit more, and then I'll you know, stop the session because I personally have to stop. And then I guess I'll edit it into a separate video. I think that's the way to go. So if we wait here, what's going to happen? Is our ally going to rush off? And he's getting stronger. We're gonna take a lot of range damage if we do that. He's just gonna do that, huh? I guess we just close the distance. Just mash tab. Well, he did all the work, really, that time. He really gets out in front of us. Generally oh well, that guy's range 5, so we should take out him first. Before he gets away from us. We're still at max HP. Gotta say, it's, you know, pretty good so far. Wow, so it gave us literally the 3 items that it said it would give us. It wasn't even random. I kind of like that. So we can actually make just like an informed choice. So I did have my eyes on these. They do give us less armor, but at some point we make up for that with our high strength and our abilities. I'm gonna go ahead and wear that. Oh, and it says all the resists here, too. Lovely. Fire, ice, and astral. Let's look at some of these weapons. How are we on blood resists? A little bit. Flash, blunt, pierce, and death. We already have a little bit of that. This is interesting because it favors blood. But this weapon gives us poise. And that is something that is good to have. Although how things are playing out is we're not really holding still ever, although the poise is still probably affecting us. So this would give us some blood resist and also Deal slash damage. I think I like the poise effect of the Spatha too much to really want to get rid of it. But I'll just go ahead and keep hoarding these. I'll just go ahead and keep hoarding these for now until they start to get dire. Well, shoot, I'm having... Now I'm going to play a little bit more. You can go a little bit longer. I'm not beholden to hour-long videos. Okay. So we just go left to right and we pick which area we want to go to. And there's not just... adjacent dodge. We're not going to be doing that. We already have a chest piece that is giving us something. It's giving us psychic resist, so I don't really care for that. Wings of Death. So this is where we go if we want to die. So, okay, so there's towers, and I guess we can avoid them or not. Pierce, blunt, poison, which I'm concerned about. Pierce. And... oh, cool. I wanted to see what that Ice Modus trait does. Oh, wow, it just deals damage. Wow, this guy's got a lot of traits. Doom. Deals death damage on being attacked. Wow, so it makes us more vulnerable to damage. So that could really be not good. Unless we can beat him quickly, which we can't. Because he's got a, like, 2k life. And he is weak to astral. So is this a good idea to go up against this guy? I guess what we can do is... what is the range? He's got range 3, and he is faster than us. We do have prayers, though. How much of those do we have? Not many. Why? It's supposed to be +2 charge when you enter a new area, and we've never used them. Oh, requires glory 10. Oh. So wait, if we spend glory, that actually locks us out from using some of our abilities? Wow. 10 and 20. That's really interesting. I didn't realize that. This seems like... this seems risky. It does give us some ice resist, potentially. Especially that necklace. That necklace seems... could be really useful, but wait. Would that replace our helm? I guess it might. So could we grab the necklace and kind of run to the exit? And this doesn't heal us directly. We can only heal if we do damage. So we can't just like, oh, cast this and we're just gonna heal. We have to be hitting a lot of people. So really, I don't think that we are well suited to go up against this guy. What's our death resist? 11%. Not so good. We could go up to 21% if we equip the Dread Axe. And what is his physical resist? He doesn't have any. He just has armor and block. But if we never take on the towers, are we never going to... Are we just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot? Are we screwing ourselves over for later? Or is this green tower like... Yeah, do the tower if you have a nice, strong early game build. And maybe we don't have that. But I'm kind of curious to take it anyway, just to see what happens. I think that ultimately is the deciding factor. So we want to go to a direction that... Oh right, black is impassable. It's a little tough to read. Oh, we split up. I have to close the distance. Oh, lightning gloves? I didn't realize that they're just dealing damage in a path to one enemy in a 2-tile range. Cool. I'll take it. Oh, we don't need to worry about bleeding. Oh, cursed beast. Well, until we get 10 glory, we're not going to be able to use these cool things. Oh, we can order allies. We can hold or move to attack. Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm glad that it's not more fine-grained than that. Keep getting that strength up. Well, that's interesting. What does this ground represent? We can see through it. Do I have a way to actually hit him? Oh, he's hitting me. Okay. How strong are we against him? Oh, there's another ice beetle. Okay, they're just kind of like, there's ice beetles. Just see the log. So block is, it completely prevents damage. There's a dodge, an accuracy roll, a dodge roll, a hit roll, and then a block. Where does armor? You break the guard, you penetrate the armor. So if we don't penetrate the armor, the result is a hit. I'm just trying to learn how armor works. I think I'll have to do that as a research task before the next session. Alright. I should have assumed Urid. I should have done prayer 1 because now we can't really heal. Where's that dragon? Show me dragon. That priest is going to poison us. I'd rather make a beeline to him. we're not exactly a make a beeline sort of character. I do like that there are no blind spots other than like we know the whole layout of the floor. I really like that. We don't really have a good place to hide from that priest. And I have to remember to cast Sum Uri. Especially when we have a nice supply of bleed stacks. Maybe I'll... This is not a good arena. It's interesting, so the beetle could damage us because of the ability that he has, but because his normal attack is range 1, he still closes with us. Let's Sum Uri. If we know we can kill an enemy, we might as well use it. Obviously, gotta keep doing strength. I'm curious how long the blood rage is. It I assume Uri'd again. Light take thee. Now what's unfortunate, I probably should have... Oh, I was pressing 4, but it's not doing anything. That's weird. Do I have like a key binding issue? Huh. Yeah, that is weird. Maybe it's... Yeah, I'll have to figure out what's going on with that. So I guess the only way to do it right now is to just click. I should have had him hold, because then I could heal from Sum Uri. From blood... Well, I heal from blood rage specifically. Show me dragon! Ooh, that's quite the choke point. Why don't we have our boy... Just hold on here. I guess we're losing blood rage stacks. Okay, now he can go hog wild. All about those choke points if you're a melee character. It's all about kiting. Look at that, we're at full. Crawl taught me a thing or two. Ah, yes. We have been warned. There is a death drake. He is there. What I wanted most was the ice necklace. So now we see how badly we're gonna get fricked up. Because he's faster than us. Speed 15, we're speed 13. We are indeed getting fricked up. Quite badly. This was not a good decision. Our glory rises. We've killed it? Wow. We did not kill it. Our familiar did. Well, I guess we can pick up all this stuff. That was really not... That was very fortunate timing on that level up. I think we will call it here. Hopefully it will let me... Oh, we have to quit from the world map. Lovely. So we do this. And we do save and quit. Well, I don't know if it's going to close the game, but thank you for watching this trying out of Paths of Achra. One of the many Paths of games. The long-running Paths of series. Path of Exile. I'm sure there's other paths. I guess I guarantee I will be playing this more because this was quite fun. Especially when I'm not in the mood for an action game. And hopefully next time it will be a stream. So many more videos to come. Many more streams to come. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.